Hi, hello, and welcome all of you to the next session of ABAP on Cloud in Zapyard. In this session, we will try to understand the cloud computing deployment strategies. We have seen that there is the concept of resource pooling. So, how these resources are operated, how these resources are managed. According to this, we will try to categorize the cloud computing deployment strategies. So there are three aspects of the resource management. So that they can be categorized as the infrastructure ownership. Infrastructure ownership is one of the aspects of cloud computing resources. Okay, so who owns these resources makes a very commanding categorization. It leads us to categorize the cloud deployment strategies. So the ownership of the resources or the infrastructure ownership. Point number two is who manages them? Who manages these resources? So managed by. Okay, so managed by. The third point is who operates it. So operated by becomes the third aspect to diversify the cloud deployment strategies or to categorize the cloud computing deployment strategies. So based on this, now let us try to name the different cloud computing strategies. So we will start. So let us look at the three and well known, very important and well known deployment strategies. The first one is public cloud. Public cloud. The third one, or the second one rather, is the private cloud. And the last, which is a combination of few features of public cloud and private cloud, which is known as the hybrid cloud. Okay, so we will try to understand all these features one by one now. So let us try to understand what are the three kinds of deployment strategies. So in public cloud, who owns is something which we need to understand. Now in public cloud, the service provisioned through the cloud computing platform is all but named and owned by the cloud service provider. So cloud service provider. For our reference and ease of understanding, let us use the acronym CSP, which stands for Cloud Service Providers. So, the cloud service provider owns, okay, then manages, and finally operates. Wow. So, the risk that is there present in the cloud deployments is all but owned by the service provider. So the three aspects, okay, I repeat, the three aspects are nothing but the infrastructure ownership, management of them, and the operation. It's all taken care by the service providers in case of public cloud. The next categorization is private cloud. So what do we mean by the private cloud? So let me rename the slide as cloud deployment strategies. Okay, strategies. So the private cloud, what do we mean by private cloud? So we mean the private cloud, how do we define? So when the cloud computing is owned, operated and managed by, so the first case was managed by the cloud service provider. When the organization or the implementation organization, rather, let us say if there is a software service provider, then the client to which it is rendered or the client who makes use of this cloud platform becomes the organization. So the organization uses, so organization owns, manages and operates. Okay, so it is organization owns, manages, and operates. So this is the third deployment strategy which is present in the cloud deployment. The third and the final, and which is widely used in order to have a cost cutting, in order to have a very flexible model of cloud deployment is hybrid cloud. Okay, hybrid cloud. What do you be? What do we mean by hybrid cloud? Is that it includes both public and private resources, public and private resources. So the public and private resources, what does it mean? That when there is a issue of data privacy, or there is issue of concerns of data security, in those cases the data which has to be managed, owned and operated by, the ownership lies with the private cloud. And for the services like the very generic public owned, public operated, open sourced resources of the software components, which lies in the public domain or the public resources, becomes the other aspect, or becomes the other component of this hybrid cloud. So I will repeat. So when we say the hybrid cloud, it includes private and public resources. So some of the resources within this cloud platform, it is managed by the public, some are managed by the private. So when the public and private resources are under a single management, or the single managed environment, okay, let us put as are under a single managed environment, then it is known as the hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is widely used where the open sourced or publicly available APIs, resources, memory, storages, or the networking devices, which can be accessed by any of the service provider, any of the solution provider, and along with that the private resources like the memory or the data which is confidential and needs a complete data security in terms of no leak, in terms of deployment, then the public and private resources that are part of a single platform make the hybrid cloud. So these are very important aspects of cloud deployment strategies.